think we can get started. All right. Yeah. Good to see you guys. Yao has been a dear friend for a long time, and I don't think we've ever met, just like chatting on WeChat. Team, I don't think we've met either. My days at ConsenSys. No. But you've done so much work at the Ethereum Foundation. I've been a distant follower for a while. So good to see you both.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So just to the audience, I think today we're discussing Ethereum development in China. I just took the liberty and create a catchy title, Myth and Reality. But I think the purpose is to, you can say we're bridging cultural differences, but it's more like, what are the misconceptions that we think are true in the other geography region that is actually not true? And then more importantly, how do we bridge the difference and how we can work together? I think at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason, right? I think the more communication we have, the better outcome it is. That's just the truth. To start with, let's do a round of introduction. I'm going to start with myself first. Hey guys, I'm Shuyao. I work at ConsenSys. I also run a column with Decrypt. It's called Dabbing. For those who don't know, Dabbing is it means Chinese pancake, and it's a nickname for Bitcoin among the Chinese crypto community. I think it's just kind of cute. So I cover mainly China news and just provided my own analysis and 2 cents. Let's hear from the panelists. Yao, do you want to do an intro?
Yeah, thanks, Shuyao. Thanks for having me here. My name is Yao Xiang. I'm the founder of Primitives Lane, which is a nonprofit research institute in China. Before that, I was doing blockchain research for financial institution. And after that, I joined a startup on the research and development of smart contract wallets. The story between Ethereum and I can date back to 2015. I heard it's Ethereum and read the white paper. And on October, I listened to Vitalik's speech in Shanghai, the first Wanxiang blockchain summit. Now I'm a researcher focusing on the fundamental issues on blockchain area, such as account abstraction, smart contract wallets, zero-knowledge tech, threshold signatures, and so on. And also, I'm a loyal audience of all core dev meetings and faithful reader of each R&D Discord channels. So yeah, Tim, I'm quite familiar with your image and your voice. Yeah, I want to briefly introduce Primitives Lane. It has been organizing in-person seminars for more than a year, and Shuyao is aware of it, talking about basic and important issues around blockchain area. For example, last month, we held a seminar to talk about the changes that London upgrade will bring. Besides, it attracts researchers to do basic frontier research by giving them support. We will publish several outcomes soon, including research on gas token and the brief history of difficulty bound. Primitives Lane is also a member of Together, on which gathering Ethereum communities to have a better understanding of each other, to know what other communities do, and to host meetups, hackathons, and seminars together. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm Tim Beiko. I work with the Ethereum Foundation now. The main thing I do is I run the All Core Devs call, which is a call where the different developers for Ethereum get together and discuss changes to the protocol. Prior to that, I spent about 3 years at ConsenSys working on their client team. So there I was a product manager working on the Hyperledger Beiko client, which is ConsenSys's Ethereum client.
Awesome, welcome both. You've both done so much work for the ecosystem, and I think the conversation today is really much conversational than strict answer. So feel free to chime in, talk to each other, yada, yada, you know the rule. So I think a good way to start the communication is, this one is probably to our Chinese audience, maybe to the Western one as well. As a question to Tim, I'm just really curious, like as a core dev, what are some of the conceptions, perceptions that Western or international East developer communities have of the Chinese developer community? And then I would love to hear what Yao thinks about those conceptions, whether they are true or not.
Yeah, I think the biggest, conception is just that there is like a gap, right? And there's a few reasons, I think, for that gap. The first is obviously, talking in English, right? Like a large part of the Chinese community speaks Chinese, obviously. And this is true, not just of China, but like of a lot of regions. And, a lot of people have mentioned to me they maybe don't engage as much as they can because like English is not their first language. Again, this is true outside of China as well. So I think, there's been some efforts by like the broader Ethereum community to improve there. Like I think ethereum.org is like really good in that respect. But at the core protocol level, it's true that most stuff actually happens in English. And if that's like a barrier, that's not ideal. I think the time zone. So for example, the actual core developer calls happen at the fact that there's always going to be time zones for who it doesn't work. We tried rotating the times in the past. It didn't work quite well. But the time right now is quite bad for China. And there are developers actually working on some teams that are based in Asia. They just don't join the calls because of that. I think there's also like the platforms and the mediums of communication sometimes vary. Like, for example, we host the calls on YouTube and, you basically need a VPN to access it in China. And again, there's some organizations that do a great job of like transcribing the notes and whatnot. But it's a hard, like there's a few things that kind of create this gap, and it can be hard sometimes to have as much interactions with the Chinese part of the community as we like.
Yeah. Thanks, Tim. And I totally agree with what you said and about the gap that are caused by the language barriers, the jet lag, and also you mentioned about the VPNs. So maybe let me try to introduce some developers in China and what they are doing. I think the devs are layered. So there are many kinds of types of devs. They have different behaviors. Basically you can't regard them as a whole entity. So there are some researchers. They are doing research on both cryptography and underlying protocol, and also some are doing well in the innovation of application. And also there are some programmers. Some of them are doing blockchain related development, and some are focusing on the product. And also there are some good startups. They're doing DEX, Blueprint, like To-Do, and some are building layer 2 solution. And also there are some arbitrator, and whether they believe blockchain or not, and they earn money from the system. And also there are some retail traders. They may have full-time job, but they are unrelated with blockchain. But they join the ecosystem to find financial reward. So for me, I'm trying to gather the researchers, the programmers, and also core member of the startups. We joined together to talk about the innovation of blockchain, especially for Ethereum ecosystem. Yeah.
That's super interesting. I think, team, I really agree with you. Somehow, I think what I'm doing is arbitraging language, because I'm on WeChat all the time, seeing all this information and translate or interpret into the Western audience. I think language is a difference, but I also think the way community or developer communities are built very different. So I don't know if both of you can talk about the flavors in developer community as maybe the same or different, how they're operate.
So I really have a bad view of the China developer community. So I'd be curious to hear from the two of you. How do you think it's different? Yeah, that would be really helpful for me to understand.
So we are talking about the developer community. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, like spirits and flavors and things that we do just like pretty different from the Western ones.
Yeah, the Chinese like to I'm not talking about all of the Chinese people, but most of them are they would like to use WeChat to talk about issues. So, but WeChat is not an open system. Which means that people out of WeChat, if you are not in a small group, you cannot see what they are talking about. That's quite different from Reddit or some forum or Discord. So I'm watching the R&D Discord channel all day long. But if you wanted to know what our Chinese developers are talking about, it's impossible because you are not in the WeChat group. So I think that this is a major difference, and also I think we are talking about mostly following the updates of the communities, but maybe you guys would dig into the problem to find out what really happens. I want to mention just maybe 2 or 3 hours ago about the chain split issue. Yeah, and the Chinese communities, they're talking about the issue, but if you guys know what exactly happens, but we try to let people know what is wrong and what they should do. I think that's my role or responsibility to help people, to help Chinese development communities.
Maybe one thing that's interesting with like the Western community is we really see it separated at like the different levels of the protocol. And I don't know if this is also true in China. Like, there's a lot of core developers, and then there's like tooling providers, and there's, application developers. And there's not like a ton of overlap. Like, obviously they talk to each other kind of like when they have to, but it's like you could spend all your time in just one of those circles and like never leave. And, there's like a ton to engage with. So yeah, that's one thing that's like, I don't know, kind of interesting, where Ethereum has grown so big now that like, like for example, I work on the protocol and like, I have no idea what's happening in NFTs, right? Like there's like a massive NFT community on Ethereum. And like, I don't feel like I know a lot. I know that it's happening, but like I'm definitely not like an insider of that community, right? So it's really interesting how much it's grown and evolved over the time.
It's true. So it's a huge ecosystem, and nobody can know all the things They only focus on what they are, what they like, or what they are maybe maybe they are good at with dealing with some protocol level or application level, or some guys are good at cryptography. But I'm not that confident, but maybe in Chinese community, people are more concerned about the development of application, and then also of what the innovation of products. I think most of the people are concerned about that. And for protocol level, there are a few guys. They are trying to get engaged in it. But as what you said just now, there are some barriers. So people need to get together. They need to get together to talk about how to know how to improve their understanding of the protocol. And I think that's very important. I think that's important for if you are a startup for that suppose you are building our DEX, you need to know what happens on the protocol level. That's very important. So yeah, I think maybe there will be, or we need some connections, and also we can help host some seminars or workshops to let people know what will happen when the protocol changes. That it doesn't mean that the developers for application level they needed to know all the details of the protocol change, but they need to know what's the influence that the protocol change will cause to them.
Yeah, so and I think,
go ahead, Tim.
I was just gonna say, I think it's true. We definitely need to we definitely need to like inform people and have better ways to talk about changes to the protocol. We actually tried this. I did an AMA on Telegram with the Chinese community a few weeks ago, and I'm happy to do more. So if there's ways that I can just go and like talk with you all, please reach out, and I'm always happy to do it. Like, and we are going to have a lot of big. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of big changes in the coming months with the merge and moving to proof of stake and whatnot. So, just ping me and I'll do as many AMAs or talks or, and conferences like this. I think they're really helpful to share the knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, Tim, you're welcome. And also I'm happy, I would be happy to help you to communicate with Chinese communities.
So I think what I'm hearing is, just to summarize a bit, is it's actually quite similar. I think the two developer community, just I think in different region, is that you would have people who are extremely interested in the protocol, the technology layer. You have people who are in more the application layer. You have people who would love to run the community. You have people who are great at UI UX design. I think what's happening in China, and Yao, please correct me if I were wrong, is I think there's so much Chinese FUD and then Chinese misconception. People think that China used to be a way more engaged in the Ethereum community, and now there are different L1s coming up, and then maybe Chinese are way more interested in the application layer than the protocol layer. And I'm curious, Yao, are you seeing any differences over the years? Do you think that we're just going to continue the trajectory? I know you and a bunch of researchers are making huge differences, especially I think some of the OGs from the old, mining community who will continue to contribute. I mean, just crypto has such a deep history in China, right? Like, what differences are you seeing over the years, and what kind of do you predict going forward?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Shuyao. I won't do any prediction because things change too fast. I may mention some facts we must emphasize. So maybe China has a special environment. That means I think that the uncertainty of policy that is the advantage for attracting people to join the Ethereum community or the broader blockchain communities, and also the prosperity of internet innovation. So the programs, to the developers, they can earn they can earn good. They get rewarded from the development of internet industry. So crypto, it seems not that attractive for them, and also they have a stressful life. Yeah. So I think for many elites, crypto is not the first option for them to fight for. And also, and I want to mention a finding that is from a guy in Token. He said, since it's too easy to get funded, I mean there are many crypto ventures. So the elites, they are scattered in different teams. So great people are they cannot get together in a big group for a product or for a protocol. So that may be some. I think it's different. The different facts that China have, and also no need to mention about the language barrier, the genetic barrier. I remember last month I'm helping a wallet team to help them to translate I'm the translator. Their wallets, their code of the wallets need to be audited by a security team, but they are not very good in English. So I needed to help them to get touch with the security team. So I think that are the difference comes from the special environment, comes from the disconnection with global, comes from the personalities. Some devs in China, they are introverted. They don't like to express them. They are mostly they are silent. So maybe I have a question for Tim. So I want to know how are devs around the world doing, especially for non-English countries, and what does Ethereum Foundation do to encourage diversity?
Yeah, so I think we do a fair amount, like, translating resources and, making sure that there's like onboarding stuff accessible, especially for the application layer, in like as many languages as we can. I think we also have a lot of people working on different projects and whatnot across, North America, Europe, South America, and those regions just like naturally are easier to kind of reach out to, because we there is a presence there. Yeah, and I mean, we're always kind of looking for more more things we can do, right? Like different communities within Ethereum will do will have different initiatives. But if there's things, that people feel we should do, that are relatively doable, we will definitely consider them. So yeah, there's no like one answer. I think just because it's just like such a diverse community that it's really hard to to say exactly like what what the initiatives are.
Yes.
Hopefully that made sense. Yeah.
Thanks. It makes sense. And also, I see all your efforts on the maybe the globalization of the documents of the application documents, and that's the information from Ethereum Foundation to different areas. But how can Ethereum Foundation how can you know what really happens in different countries? As Shuyao mentioned, maybe there are some misunderstandings or some misinformation. Yeah.
So I think it's just by having people there, right? Like, and having people plugged into those communities. Like this is one thing people probably misunderstand about the Ethereum Foundation is it's not really like a top-down organization, right? Like there's a bunch of different teams and initiatives and people work on those. But yeah, like there's no say global outreach effort. I'm in Canada, and I obviously interact with like a lot of the community here, and we have different people in different parts of the world that do the same. So I think that's just like one thing we need to keep doing is being diverse in the countries and backgrounds we hire from, because that's kind of how it naturally ripples out, right? Yeah, and for example, like I'll give a shout out to Xiao. Like she's from Taipei and on the research team, and I think she's really helped bridge a lot of gaps with different parts of the Asian community, and just having her on board, like her job is she's not like a community representative or anything, right? Like she's a researcher, but she's just by virtue of being there, she's really helped bridge that gap. So and maybe one other way to put this, if you are listening to this and like, you want to get involved in Ethereum and, you want to contribute, like ping me. Twitter is the best. And we definitely are looking for like good people all around the world. Even, if it's not for the Ethereum Foundation, there's a ton of projects that are looking. So I'll be happy to, find a project and put you in touch with them. Yeah, because I think that's how we do it. We just need to grow the community.
I think Tim, that really spot on, and thank you, Yao, for asking that question. Like I think for most Chinese, the environment we grew up in, any organization is inherently hierarchical. Despite that, we all work in crypto and everything is supposed to be flat. I think a lot of just to debrief that myth, even of what Ethereum Foundation is to the Chinese community. Is extremely important, and that has not been done very well. I don't know, if you agree. Like, I don't think a lot of people know what EF does in China. People just think it's an org, hire people do stuff, and people don't know that, hey, I can be part of it too.
Yeah, right. And I think maybe there is like, the EF doesn't really do things, it doesn't like do things in Europe. Like we organized DevCon, right? And DevCon was in China earlier, and it was in Japan a couple of years ago too. So we'll probably not go back to China until we've done a lot of different places to go everywhere. But like aside from DevCon, the EF doesn't really do like community outreach or whatnot. Like we'll support, we give a lot of grants to people who do, like there is, I forget the name, but there are a couple China teams, that do community. And I suspect EDCON is one of them, but we do give grants and sponsorships. So we feel it's better to have, different community members lead those efforts than the EF trying to do it top down, because the world is a really big place and we can't like own all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Just when you guys were talking, one thing that just came to my mind, you know how I think the whole crypto community is constructed around memes? What are some of the, I don't know, Ethereum dev memes in China? What are some of the memes in the global, the Ethereum community? I don't know, just random questions thrown to you guys, because memes are important.
Yeah, memes are important. Maybe Tim first.
Yeah, like they are. I feel like the word meme has been like very abused in a way where like it's used to basically describe anything viral. I think what's special about the Ethereum community is not just like specific memes, and we have a ton of them, but there is like this feeling of, being part of something and trying to build, better institutions, better applications, and not only being able to build those applications, but maybe to shape how they will be built. And that this is still kind of a early project, like, relative to the impact that it can have. And there's something special there that I have a hard time putting into words that like makes me want to work on Ethereum rather than, a bunch of other things I could work on. And I think that's true for a lot of people. So I'm not quite sure memes is just it. It's definitely a part of it, but it feels like there's something kind of, deeper and more important that really drives people to Ethereum, and also that drives a lot of people to stay there a long time, right? Like we have a lot of contributors and applications who've been here for 5 years or more now, and like in blockchain time, that's really, really long. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
It's like a MetaMask.
Yeah, MetaMask is the OG for sure.
So yeah, what do you think? What are the memes, or actually it's just like, I think this is perhaps my broader question, like what brings people, right, the developers, to the Ethereum community?
I can't remember such, but I remember a song called "You Idea," maybe in EDCON 5. I remember that song. I think it's a good meme.
You were breaking up a bit. Sorry, Yao.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is it? Can you hear me?
Oui.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I just remember a song called "Bu Idea," maybe in DevCon 5 in Osaka, and I think it's a good meme for the devs.
Yeah. Did
you say like the DevCon in Osaka was a good meme for devs?
I remember a song. The name of the song is "Bu Idea."
Yes, the Bidol song.
Yeah.
Now we're getting really concrete. The builder song.
Yeah, my autocorrect won't let me spell it, but yeah, I think.
But yeah, I think just going back to the original question, I mean, there are songs, there are on WeChat we have all the emojis. So what really unites? What are the things that draw? Like, for example, like in the crypto NFT community, we're seeing, like, for example, Mao Dao, right? 小毛哥, NFTs really strong, right? Like a really strong community. What about the devs?
I think the devs they don't have much time to talk in WeChat group. So yeah, maybe it's better to create some memes, to create some emojis for them to improve the understanding of the Ethereum culture.
I absolutely love it. I think that really, that's why I'm not a researcher and you are. I spent too much time on WeChat. All right, cool. So we have 10 or 9 minutes left. I do want to, bring that things bit down to something more concrete. So what are the implications, right, or the difference or similarity? And what are your advice to people who want to build, to have a better understanding of the Chinese developer community, investors, builders, projects, marketeers. What are your advices? Maybe start from Yao first.
Okay, thanks, Shuyao. I think maybe the most important thing is we can do something to mitigate the information gap. For example, we can periodically sync with others, and also invite Chinese team to join community calls, and also we can invite core devs to join seminars in China. That's do each other, to invite each other. And also we can organize some workshops and seminars together, issue driven, and also communicate equally. And also I'm running the primitives lane. We have some grants for public research projects. And I think the core devs can give some guidance, and also we can co-research that. And also, I wanted to mention about the recently gas hotfix issue, and then we can help to spread the news immediately, and also to inform the main pools, such as the finance pools, and also maybe yesterday the end pool, they do not upgrade their nodes immediately. So I think we can do a lot of things together.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think one thing I'll say too is, like, if you feel like intimidated or like unsure about engaging, please do. Like, there are a lot of people who participate who are not native English speakers, whether from China or from elsewhere. There's actually a ton of Russians involved in core development, and like a lot of them don't speak English as their first language, and like it's fine. Basically 90+% of the world doesn't speak English as their first language. Nobody will like, make you feel bad for it. And also, like, find some problems that you find interesting, right? There's so many things to fix on Ethereum, from like the core protocol all the way to building new applications. So like if you find something that really excites you, I think you shouldn't assume that there's somebody smarter than you that's already like solved this problem. Like, most things are pretty broken and still need to be fixed. And yeah, please contribute. And I'll reiterate this: if you don't know where or how to get started, reach out to me or go to ethereum.org and just browse. And yeah, I think there's plenty of room for people to be a part of the community.
Lovely. I absolutely agree with you both. I think there's a lot of just more channels to have people open up and talk. I think there's probably some reservation from both sides. And I think what Yao is doing is absolutely jam. I can't, as someone who just touched about both sphere, I can't thank Yao enough for what he does. It's really pure research and very deep grassroots community driven work. I think we should encourage more, maybe through grant, either monetary or reputational rewards, to encourage this. Because I think if we don't, a part of me is just the deepest fear, right? Like, we might lose the developers, because there needs to be some incentive. There needs to be a little bit of hand holding for that community. Like, let people feel our love. And I think we should all have the responsibility to do that. I have 5 minutes left. I realize there's a spicy question that I have. I might just throw it out to entertain everyone. As a question from Yao, actually, he's asking how to free from, I guess, Ethereum from ventures control over project development, especially when information gaps exist. So now we're assuming that the VCs have a lot of control over projects. So team, how would you answer that question?
So is the question like, how do we, I'm not sure I understand it. It's how do we like give more funding options than just VCs for projects? Is that right? I'm not sure I understood the question.
Yeah, was that the intention of the question? The free ventures control.
I mean the development of protocol. Maybe it's the ventures they show great control over it. So how to get rid of it?
Sure. So I mean, there's so as long as Ethereum wants to like keep upgrading, right? Like developers will need to write those upgrades. But all of the software is open source, right? And all of those teams, have outside contributors. So if you do want to contribute, to Ethereum, I think that the main way you can have an impact is by doing it yourself. I think if things like funding and whatnot are the problem, then the Ethereum Foundation makes grants, but we're also not the only ones, right? There's things like Moloch DAO. There's 1,000 more DAOs now that I haven't followed, but like there's definitely a lot of ways for you to get funding for your work. And I think in Ethereum we are generally supportive of trying to build stuff that's like kind of a disruptor to what's already there. At the protocol level, the Ethereum Foundation funded this team called TurboGeth, which is basically a fork of Geth that tries to improve and make it better. They're now called Aragon, and the Ethereum Foundation funded that team for years. And I don't know if they still do. I'm not involved in that, but like, even though it was like a competitor to the main client on Ethereum that they were building. So I think there's definitely like an appetite by different like funders in the ecosystem to fund things that improve Ethereum, even if it's competitive to what's out there today. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I think what Tim is saying is like the Ethereum is not owned by anything, right? I think also the power is fluid and the power is perceived different by different parties. I think the beauty of Ethereum is that you still have a lot of control. There's still the pie is big enough that anybody who wants to control have a seat on the stage. However, I think a lot of it is blocked by language barrier, by regional, by time zone, all of that. Anyway, I think thank you so much, both of you, for joining me today. Good to see you again, Yao, and nice to meet you, Tim. I think maybe an action for anyone who's listening or who's curious, like DM Tim if you have a question. You can always DM Yao as well, DM me as well on Twitter. Let's get the conversation started. I think there is so much more work and just beautiful things we can do together, us as a whole entity, as a force of good together in the ecosystem. So good to have you guys. Thank you, EDCON, for organizing it, for bringing us all together. So I think that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd, for having us. This was great.
Thank you, Tim.